Hi, my name is Courtney Thornton. I'm here at Channel 6 Action News. I will be interviewing Lisa Thomas-Laury, one of the anchors for Channel 6 Action News. I'm interviewing her for my senior project, in which I am interviewing someone who has my dream career. My dream career is to be a broadcast journalist. This interview will give me first-hand experience about what it is like to be a broadcast journalist.
As it used to be.
Now, what do you do behind the scenes for ABC?
What do I do behind the scenes? Well, when I was out ill for about 2.5 years, and when I came back, they couldn't hold my job for that long. So I do a lot of special reporting, and sometimes I come up with my own ideas, and sometimes they have ideas for me. So I'll go out and gather news, and we produce our own stories and write our own stories. Someone else edits them now. But basically that's what I do that you don't see in front of the camera, is write and produce a story, like for a special that I'm going to do at 11 o'clock. Now, you'll see sometimes, I don't know if you've seen, I'll sit there, Jim's here he'll say Lisa has a special report tonight, or Nydia has a special report, or Aaron O'Hearn does special segments on our internet. So those are the main things that I do behind the scene.
What is How does your career affect your family?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. It doesn't affect my family the way it used to when my boys were little. There were, I made some sacrifices. When I came here, I was doing the noon news with a man named Jim O'Brien. Your mom and dad will remember him. You're too young, but you may have heard of we had a weatherman who was probably the most adored, best liked TV celebrity this city has ever known. He was this wacky weatherman, and he just was so smart and so funny. And he worked, I think, about 20 hours a day. He did every newscast, did the weather, or he anchored the news, or he hosted a show called Dialing for Dollars, or he did a talk show. He was just a workaholic from Texas, and it was a real blessing for me to be able to work beside him. He was killed in a tragic skydiving accident, and that opened the door for me to go ahead and do other things.
What is the biggest thing you've learned from being a journalist?
The biggest thing I've learned. Did you come up with these questions yourself?
Yes.
These are great questions. The biggest thing I've learned, I guess, is that all people, no matter their race or their age or their religious background, that we're all really more alike than we are.
Good morning, I'm Courtney Thornton from Pencader Charter High School, and you're watching The 10 Show with LuAnn, LuAnn, Cahn, and Bill Henley.
Thanks, Courtney.
Thank you.
What is the hardest part about being an investigative journalist?
Gosh. Sometimes you work on stories that you think are great, you start working on them, and you've got some time invested, and it turns out it's not a story. And that's really hard. It's not just hard for the reporter, it's hard for the station that invests time and money in stories. And that happens a lot. I mean, you start working on something, you start working on a source, and you start pulling on a thread of information, and all of a sudden you go, oh, no, that story's not what we thought, and it's really disappointing, but you have to let it go. So you end up working on things that don't end up on TV. I think that's really hard. Sometimes we start on, I think one of the hardest things is sometimes you start on the story and you know that story is there, but there's no way you're going to prove it. And it just kills you. You want to put that story on, but you have no way of getting it onto TV.
What types of stories spark your interest?
Stories that expose something people need to know about. Stories about wrongdoing. Stories about, I don't love it when people are ripped off or hurt in any way, but boy, I know when I get a hold of a good story, when I know somebody has done something wrong and I can go after, that, I love that. And when we can get action, when we know that because of our story, something better happens. Something changes for the better. Those are the kind of stories I love to do, where we know that we make a difference by telling, exposing something.